Welcome back from the break, and it's good to know you have rejoined us again on the program Good Morning Abuja, coming to you from the Unity Station NTA Channel 5. And on to our very first conversation this morning, we want to talk about food insecurity and inflation. We all know that food security is the availability and the accessibility of food at any time. But are food available right now? Are they accessible? These are questions that are begging for answers. And our resource person with us in the studio will answer these questions for us. Help us welcome Engineer Abayami Onasanya, who is the Global Director, Africa House, to the program this morning. Engineer, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yes, anytime we are here talking about food, I know it's a global thing right now.
Exactly, and I'm hungry too.
Food insecurity and inflation. We all know what is happening, but we want us to take it from what food security is all about.
All right. Good morning, Abuja. Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you for having me. Food security, like you said, is the accessibility of nutritious food as at when you require it. And to keep it in the layman's terms, is like knowing where your next meal will come from.
Come
To keep
from.
it simple, and this is an important topic,
Yes.
given the fact that we're going through a tough economic situation right now in our country. A lot of people are hungry, and unfortunately, when you're hungry, you're hungry. So the earlier we address this issue, the better for us as a nation.
Okay, now let's look at the um, uh, food not being accessible and then one cannot afford it. How would you say it has impacted our economy?
Wow. Well, that's a fantastic question because not having access to food has led to reduction in our productivity as a person. Imagine going to work. Let's imagine now we're coming to the studio and we've not eaten for the last 2, 3 days. I mean, exactly.
We'll faint.
We will faint and our performance
Will
will
be
be
low.
adversely affected.
Yes.
Even children can no longer concentrate in schools. I'm talking, 20, 30 years ago, I remember you see children eating cornflakes and other nutritious milk, eggs. It was not an issue, but now parents have had to improvise, just to fill their tummy. And as a result, the children are not getting the right nutrition to give them that intelligence to be able to act fast, answer questions, and be creative. So it is really a crisis that we need to address as soon as possible so that we can move forward. And hopefully, during this program, we provide solutions. We look at what's responsible for food insecurity and inflation, and then we can advise the right people involved to be able to solve this problem.
Okay, you have even asked the question now. Let's quickly address it because you say the impact is really affecting even our children in school, the economy, everywhere. We can't really have access to food. Someone was telling me last week that they are no longer doing 3 square meal in their house at the moment, that they are doing 101. Even the 101, the first one is not a complete one. So indirectly, it's 1.5%
Wow.
every day. And that is what we are going through now. Now, what is the way forward?
Wow. Before we can talk about the way forward, we need to address or we need to know
Because
the
The
causes.
yeah.
Because, if you don't, it's like a doctor who wants to, heal a patient and then doesn't know what the cause is. Like, okay, fine, just take Panadol, take all these medicines and let's see which one works. So, one of the first reasons for insecurity is security issues that we're facing in our nation. We all know that there are certain states of the federation that is known to be the food basket. I'll give an example: Taraba, Benue, even the Borno State, Jos Plateau State, and to mention a few. And unfortunately, all these areas that over the last 10, 20 years, they've been ravaged by insecurity,
Yes.
physical insecurity, where the farmers can no longer go to the farm safely. And if you notice something, the trend in Abuja now, that when you go through that Zuba area, that from Niger State into Abuja, you discover that you see young chaps, from the north. You see them on all these tomato trucks and food trucks,
Yes.
and in a day you can count more than 1,000 young chaps coming into Abuja because these are people who used to be farmers. They can no longer farm. So what do? They look for greener pastures. They come to Abuja looking for what to do with their lives. So as a result, the population of our farmers are dwindling and the output, unfortunately, is reducing. So maybe we used to produce several million tons of rice before, but no, now our production is more than half. You see, so that's number one. Another issue that has led to food insecurity and inflation is our agricultural practices. And in Africa, unfortunately, we've not invested too much or a lot into modernizing the way we do farming. For example, an average farmer would farm a small plot of land. You still see people farming maybe 1 acre, 2 acres, or even one or two plots. And this is not the way to tackle hunger, unfortunately. We need to move into large scale mechanized farming. Not a farming where because our farmers in the rural areas, they do subsistence farming just to feed themselves. The rest, maybe one or two tubers they sell. But the truth is, we need to do more than that. We need to change these practices. We need to start looking at a way of gathering farmers together in groups and then just going into one area and just farming. If you look at Kagine, for example, you see massive land from that Zuba all the way to the airport. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of hectares of land where nothing is happening. And you see small pockets of farmers. So why can't we just gather them together, give them equipment, and let us just plant maybe just yam, 5,000 hectares of yam? That will reduce the cost of yam. It will go a long way. And number two is we're not using modern technologies to farm. We're still using, old methods. We need to use technologies like hydroponics, whereby even you can grow food anywhere in the world. Anywhere in Nigeria, you can grow veggies in Borno. You can grow vegetables like you grow in Abia State. You grow the same thing in Kebbi State. So all those modern technologies, we need to take it serious. We need to start. It's time we start challenging those agencies tasked to do this, because we have several agricultural agencies under the Ministry of Agriculture who are supposed to be the ones who will lead the forefront, but for some reason they exist, they're paying salaries, but we're not seeing output. So government needs to see them down. What have you achieved over the last 50 years? Which technology have we brought to the forefront, and which one are we implementing actually, not just on paper? Because it is easy to do research and just write paper. It is too easy. Exactly. So, and all these so-called foreign agencies who Nigeria allowed into Nigeria to be able to help us with food insecurity. I won't mention which ones now. There's so many of them driving big cars up and down the nation, with big $1 million budgets, but still our farmers still are using hoes and cutlasses. We need to ask questions. So these are just some of the reasons, and I don't want to talk too much, and we'll talk more about some of these reasons as we progress.
Okay, now let's look at the area of finance. Okay, because like you said, it's not about one just like recently they said a garden, a family should have a garden.
Exactly.
You should be able to have your own vegetables, and which is okay. It's okay. But like you said, it can't go. You won't be able to feed the nation with such. But don't you think that when there is no money or finances, or maybe government or a body, just like you said, some other organizations or maybe parastatals have been set up, if there is no support for these farmers financially, don't you think it's also a problem?
It's a big problem, really. And because we are quick to blame the government, but we also need to look inwardly. I'll use not that I'm trying to stay on the side of the government here, but the truth needs to be told. Look at what Central Bank of Nigeria did a few years back under this anchor borrower scheme. The government literally brought billions and billions on the table for people to take advantage of. But then you discover that some people took the loan and they did not pay back. Some people, for example, I remember there was a particular incident that under this scheme, the government gave that person a feed to feed maybe 5,000 birds. All right, the guy now collected the feed from the government and brought in his own private extra 5,000 birds, and then he told the government, "Oh, the chicken, they're not growing." So people have their own issues to deal with. People need to be honest. The government is trying, they also need to try. And another issue there is that people, the so-called associations, they come together and call themselves associations, but they're not actually farmers. They are audio farmers.
Audio farmers.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, okay, we've been discussing food insecurity and inflation. Okay, we'll be right back after this break to the how to continue and then to profile solution. All right. Now, engineer. Let's continue. We're talking about government and then we're talking about finances, and all
Finances.
that.
All right, so where I stopped was audio farmers.
Audio
Yeah,
farmers.
okay.
The truth is that we Nigerians ourselves, we have a lot of blame, on our part. Government is trying their best, their little best, but when these funds become available, unfortunately, all of a sudden you see several associations, association of so and so farmers, association of so and so farmers, and 99% of this association, I can beat my chest to tell you, they're not actually real
Farmers.
Farmers. Wow.
They just want the money.
And because of their proximity to Abuja, I don't even know, they come together, form these shoddy groups and associations, and then they are the ones benefiting from this big financial
The real
incentives.
farmers are not
The real
getting
farmers are deep in the jungle. They don't even know what's going on. So all these so-called associations, they have pilfered our resources for decades, and thank God, now the Ministry of Agriculture, they are beginning to change their strategy.
Okay.
They're now going back to the system of extension officers, agriculture extension officers, who actually go local government by local government, who actually know who the real farmers are. They go on their bicycles, on their motorcycles, and actually know who these real farmers are. But all these so-called farmers who have offices in Maitama who say, with big agbada AC, and then they say, I'm a farmer, and then they get 2-3 billion, and then we don't. So
those are digital farmers.
Exactly. I'll call them audio farmers. So we need to please get rid of all these so-called, I'm not saying get rid of associations, it's good to be in an association, but we need to know who the genuine farmers are. If we're able to solve this, the finance will get down to the grassroots. You see, so that's one area of finance. And then another area is we need to challenge our commercial farmers. Our commercial banks.
Okay.
Our commercial banks make billions in profit. We all know this, common fact. Government needs to force their hands to start dishing out, single digit loans, facilities to you and I, to people,
Even
simple
some
people.
Of these big organizations can also assist
Exactly.
farmers.
Exactly. So they need to do this to ensure that yes, the money is there. And one area that I'd love to talk about is also in the private sector and international agencies. I keep hammering on this international agency because agencies like ours, we have an international dimension to what we do. And thankfully, I'm a Nigerian, so I look at it from a very neutral position. See, to solve food insecurity, if you ask me, is actually very, very, very simple. Many will disagree with me, but I'll tell you how. Who doesn't know that to make food available involves land and machinery? Give me 5,000 hectares of land where nobody will disturb me. Give me 100 tractors and I will grow food.
Provide security.
I will grow food on a massive scale. But this so-called organization, agencies will come. They will say, we've budgeted $10 billion to help Africa solve its hunger crisis. Out of this 10 billion, the so-called contractors are not actually Nigerians. So they are companies from France, Italy, Germany, who are consultants who will take 10-20% of this billion. So the money is going back to Europe anyways. And then they will say, okay, fine, we want to do sensitization program, this and that. They'll bring people into expensive hotels. They'll fly people in. And even the so-called officers will be flying private jets, first class, business class, staying in expensive hotels. And then in the end, what gets down to the farm out of that 10 billion is not even more than 500,000, 500 million. So what are we talking about here? So in order for them to actually help us, give us tractors, thousands and thousands of tractors, help us cultivate our land, or help us give us technology to be able to cultivate land. That's why I love what the governor of Niger State is doing. I'm not from Niger, so I'm not rooting for him. I'm not a politician either. But what he said in partnership with the government is fine. Let's cultivate 1 million hectares, bring in hundreds and hundreds of tractors. Let's just keep growing food. Once you grow food, food will be available. It's not rocket science.
All states, yes.
Thank you. So let Kogi cultivate 1 million hectares. Let Nasarawa do 2 million hectares. So we need to do large scale farming. But what we need from the international organization and our private institutions is let's contribute money together to give these farmers the equipment they need, not only to grow the food, and also to be able to preserve the food. And that's one topic I like to talk about, food preservation also.
Food preservation, okay. Yes, well, we have a lot to talk about, but time is just not on our side. Okay, but quickly before we go, your final words as the way forward. An advice,
yes. Well, thank you very much. And my advice is very simple.
Okay.
To solve inflation and food insecurity is not rocket science. We need land, lots of safe land. We need lots of equipment, which can either be financed locally or internationally. And then we need technologies to help us process this harvest into products that will stay for a long time, or food storage facilities. So we need to farm, we need equipment, and we need storage technologies to keep our food. With this, inflation will disappear in the short term, and we will even be exporting the excess. So Nigerians, we can do it. So it's not rocket science. Please, let's feed ourselves so that our children will have enough intelligence to be able to invent and be able to solve
carry
our
on the
problems.
nation.
Exactly.
Thank
To have
you.
3 square meals,
Meals,
not just 0, 1 or 0, but
Plus
0, 1 or
snacks
3.
during the break.
Thank you. Thank you so much, engineer, for your time with us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a
Yes.
pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, you've heard it from Engineer Abayomi. Okay, food must be made available. It must be accessible, and nobody should be deprived of food. The government, the international organizations, all hands must be on deck to make sure that we have enough food. And please, whatsoever that is due the farmers must be given to them. All right, the program is still Good Morning Abuja. We'll go for a break, and when we come back, the program continues. Don't go anywhere.